Welcome and good afternoon to everyone for this second session of the InnovaMare Policy Maker Roundtable. Started this morning and it's also going to keep going on tomorrow. Actually, the roundtable that started this morning was very interesting and highlighted the several vulnerabilities and threats that oceans are passing by because of pollutions. But also there was a lot of interesting examples and discussion going on regarding tools that may allow us to address such challenges and maybe even to transform such challenges into opportunities. And in this context, which is a key goal, a key aspect of the InnovaMare project, is the role of technologies and digital technologies in particular, which may enable such a transformation. So to tackle these challenges, but also to transform them into business opportunities. Something that was emerging also during this morning session, however, was the fact that in order for such a transformation to take place, several actors need to be engaged, need to be contributing. And this is because the problem is very complex, and also because of the solutions required very different and complementarities, skills and tasks. And this is actually how create an ecosystem gets really important to be able to tackle such issues in a very fast and effective manner, because we are aware that we don't have a lot of time available to start tackling these issues. And so the issues might be how to create and manage and govern such an ecosystem, given different competencies are needed, but given different actors have different languages, different focus, different skills to put in place. Well, something that emerges clearly, that emerged this morning, but that also emerged in the broader literature, is that it's important to engage with knowledge providers, being public like university, but also private, like some of the actors that are going to introduce themselves this afternoon. And also it's important to engage citizens. And we're going to learn in a very short while about very interesting examples about how to engage citizens in this type of effort. And associations and institutions and public and private institutions at large. So this afternoon session is going to highlight different actors that can support the transformation to take place, and also introduce some examples starting from different and specific experiences about how this can be made. So I would stop here my brief introduction because I really want to give space for the great presentation that are going to start later on. But before I'm starting to introduce this afternoon guests, let me remind you that you may interact with the speakers using the chat. Please use it to share experiences or to ask questions, and also please be aware that this session can be attended in different languages. So there is the possibility to listen to it in different languages, and you may have the opportunity to select the one that you feel more comfortable with using the different channels that are available. So, but with this introduction, let me bring a deep welcome to our guests who are going to introduce specific experiences in a 10 minutes, more or less, time frame. And so I'm going to introduce the sessions that is trying to support and to disentangle and to discuss how to govern better the Adriatic in the next 6 years of programming period, in the idea to identify how to strengthen the European capacity to preempt and address such environmental challenges. And the first speaker of today is Anna Franco of the Veneto region that works for the Territorial Cooperation and EU Macro Regional Strategies. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Valentina. Let me share my screen in this way, I suppose. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you to the moderators And thank you to the Regional Union of Chamber of Commerce of Veneto Region for the kind invitation to join you today. I bring you the greetings of my director, Flavia Zuccon. She's not there because she's fully involved in the drafting of the new Italy-Croatia cooperation program for the 21-27 period, just right now in the room next to me. Let's talk together about Interreg's role in the future governance of the Adriatic region. First of all, we will see why sea basin governance is needed. And help in this sense arrives from the regulatory framework for cohesion policy in 21-27. So we are going to see the state of the art in the negotiations at European level for the future Interreg regulation. The third point will be what DG Regio have done so far in terms of inter-program governance. DG Regio is the Directorate General of the European Commission devoted to regional and urban policies and to Interreg in particular. Then we will move briefly to the Italian Interreg governance in the Mediterranean. And finally, I'm going to describe you the role of Veneto region in EUSAIR macro-regional strategy, with some hints about InnovaMare contribution to that strategy. Let's have a look at this map. The more the color is intense, the more that region is involved in several Interreg programs. Why is sea basin governance needed? I guess I don't need to say anything, right? The picture speaks for itself. Looking at maritime regions in the whole Mediterranean sea basin, we have 4 transnational programs, 5 cross-border maritime programs, including Italy-Croatia, 3 IPA cross-border programs, 2 ENI cross-border programs, 1 macro-regional strategy, namely EUSAIR, and 1 initiative, the West Med initiative, and several land cross-border programs. If you focus on the Adriatic-Ionian area, you can see that all coastal regions are involved in several programs. This framework condition needs to be managed at sea basin level. DG Regio had clearly in mind this need since the beginning of the programming phase for the 21-27 period. In fact, they innovated the regulatory framework, introducing a new Interreg-specific objective devoted to a better cooperation governance. It is not compulsory to add this objective into each program, but we are witnessing a massive use of this objective in the future. The second novelty refers to macro-regional strategies, where a transnational program, for example, Adrion, supports a macro-regional strategy, for example, EUSAIR, at least 80% of the ERDF total budget shall contribute to the objectives of that strategy. But what for cross-border programs? For example, is it compulsory for Italy-Croatia too? The answer is no, but. DG Regio stresses this point. If the program's area overlaps even partially with that of a macro-regional strategy, it would be better if the program's objectives took into account those of the strategy. A lot of work has been done both from DG Regio and from member states to share a common view for Mediterranean Sea Basin and for Adriatic-Ionian Sea Basin. Starting from late 2019, DG Regio released the so-called orientation papers. They were non-binding documents describing the vision of European Commission for a specific area. 4 orientation papers were issued related to the maritime dimension of cooperation. That was the starting point for drawing up the new Interreg programs. All task forces drafting the new programs took into account the input from European Commission, and especially the need for inter-program coordination in order to avoid negative overlaps between programs. A roundtable was organized by DG Regio, inviting all Mediterranean member states in September 19, in order to share some possible architectures for Interreg in the sea basin. In particular, 3 scenarios were proposed for the Adriatic-Ionian area, as you can see from the picture, with the aim of concentrating resources at the better territorial level. Member states chose continuity with the 14-20 period, so the proposals from European Commission were declined. Starting from that point, Interact program took the role of mediator between Commission and Member States, and a series of seminars at Mediterranean level were organized in order to study, share, and further develop the maritime dimension of cooperation among all interested Interact programs. Well, I want to be on time, so I skipped this slide, but just let me say that Italy hosts 9 managing authorities, 6 of which are maritime. So Italy plays a strong role in setting Mediterranean governance. We tried to transfer all those inputs at European and national level into our regional level. In fact, so we set up a maritime working group merging Adrian, Italy, Croatia, MED, and EUSAIR. And we are trying to share information regarding the new programming period with the aim of speaking with a unique voice in all the programming tables in which we are involved. The maritime dimension of cooperation in Veneto is worth 90 projects, 141 beneficiaries, and 32.5 million euro from ERDF in the 14-20 period. In the EUSAIR macro-regional strategy, Pillar 1 deals with blue growth. In this context, the Veneto region represents Italian regions together with Molise at Thematic Steering Group 1, the TSG devoted to blue growth, coordinated by Greece and Montenegro. Veneto took part in the definition of flagships for embedding EUSAIR in ESI and IPA funds, and DG Regio and DG NEAR proactively supported this process. Flagships are intended to be solutions for the main challenges in the macro-regional area. The hope is that all Interreg programs insisting on the strategies area will take on board user objectives so that the greatest number of new projects could contribute to the challenges of the strategy. In particular, one of the flagships connected to the Pillar 1, the one for the topic Blue Technologies, is fostering quadruple helix ties in the fields of maritime technologies and blue biotechnologies for advancing innovation, business development, and business adaptation in blue bioeconomy. There is a reason why I chose to mention this flagship in particular. In fact, the InnovaMare project fits perfectly with it. In this slide, you can see the main challenges of the flagship, the expected impact on the territories, and the practical actions that projects are expected to take. If you read the sentences in bold, you can see that they mirror perfectly InnovaMare's purposes: strengthening quadruple helix through a stronger R&D and cooperation among SMEs and research centers, increased networking between researchers, SMEs, and clusters. And also, InnovaMare actions are perfectly in line with those of the flagship: encouragement and creation of clustering, research on blue technologies, and the promotion of blue skills. To conclude my speech, InnovaMare project goes in the right direction to enhance a sustainable economy based on blue technologies. It is a good example of how a cross-border maritime program can contribute to the objective of EUSAIR macro-regional strategy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Anna, for your presentation. That was very effective in showing on the one end to what respect for the Veneto region and Italian area in general, the maritime industry, and is very important how many projects are we developed in these issues, but also to stress to what respect is relevant, is essential, I would say, to create a governance that is not just regional, not just national, but as you greatly explained, and visualize that needs to take a Mediterranean sea basing level. And that is really why it's very nice that there is such an overlap between the InnovaMare project and also the other that you mentioned, that are really trying to keep fostering these important governance aspects. So thanks again, Anna, for this really great introduction to this afternoon session. Then I would now move and move to the next speaker, who is actually speaking on behalf of the State Secretary in the Ministry of Sea, Transport and Infrastructure. So I will ask to Nevenka Zica, hopefully the pronunciation was correct, I will give the floor to you to introduce us to your speech. Thank you.
Thank you and good day to everyone. Thank you for inviting us today. As you said, my name is Nevenka Zica. I'm from Maritime Directorate of the Ministry of the Sea, Transport and Infrastructure. Here with me is my colleague Tomislav, who works in a part with alternative technologies and alternative fuels. As we both are from the Maritime Administration, I believe our choice of topic was not surprising to anyone. Our point of view is more connected with the maritime transport and infrastructure, but we believe that ports are a good link between what we do, the other blue economy sectors, and the use of EU funds. We have prepared a short presentation, which I will try to share now. I hope you can see it.
Yes, thank you.
I believe we can all agree.
Yes, we can see.
On the. Sorry? Okay. Sorry for that. I believe we can all agree on the strategic importance of ports and their role in the various economic activities, including activities related to blue economy. Ports have always been centers of trade, and even today they are associated with development on national and international level. In addition to important economic and industrial activities in the coastal area, there develop a lot of industrial activities in the surrounding area, and they are extremely important as a support to development of economic activities in the hinterland. Today, we often talk about intermodality and multimodality in various forms, and I believe that ports can play a major role in connecting the sea and land. And it is up to us to ensure the accessibility of other modes of transport with ports. Of course, it is necessary to emphasize the social element, given that ports and activities in the surrounding area are generators of jobs and employments, which also contributes to economic activity. According to Blue Economy report from 2020, the Croatian blue economy sector employs just above 172,000 of people, most of them, of course, in tourism, but port activities make up about 2.8% of employees. Sector generates about 3.6 billion euros in gross value added, of which 140 million is related to port activities. Ports are immeasurable source of opportunities for development, and developed and functional ports can serve as centers for green investment, blue growth, digitalization. Port activities as well provide us with an interaction between economics, innovation, and science, and increasing knowledge about the sea and its systems, the efficient exchange of data and information, and the design of innovative solutions for sustainable development can as well lead to business improvements, strengthening the state of the environment and society as a whole. Regarding our previous investments in port infrastructure within the operational program Competitiveness and Cohesion, they amount to 1.3 billion of kunas, within which we finance projects in 18 ports. In addition to port infrastructure, projects for the construction of improvement of roads that serve as access to ports are financed as well. Among other things, because our investments in port infrastructure are related to a specific goal, and that is increasing the accessibility of inhabited islands. We have projects within CEF, and we finance them in the area of Rijeka, worth just under 1 billion kunas. and they refer to the modernization of railway infrastructure and construction of new intermodal capacities in the port of Rijeka, reconstruction of the port for general cargo, and implementation of the information system of the port community. This all serves as a basis for programming and planning the future period. We do not know the exact amount of allocation, but we expect the investment will reach approximately the same amount as in the previous period. We have an indicative list of projects worth around 1.5 billion kunas, and we plan to invest in 19 ports. Those investments are focused on construction of new ports and reconstruction of existing ones to improve the interconnection of islands and connection of islands and land, to establish rail and road links within hinterland and build infrastructure for access to ports as part of the greening, as well as fleet renewal in terms of greening and decarbonization, and adaptation and upgrading of port infrastructure for systems that will support renewable energy sources for the propulsion of ships, such as charging systems. Installation of charging stations for alternative fuels, either on electricity, hydrogen, or LNG, is some transitional period, offers us several development opportunities in the port area, from the installation of charging stations for ship liners to charging stations for other forms of transport, such as car, trucks, and buses for public transport, and filling stations for the purpose of loading transport machinery within the port area. As a technology that we can also take in account, we could also mention cold ironing, or the possibility to supply electricity shore to ship, which could help us reduce emissions in ports located in populated areas. And the energy for coal ironing itself can also be produced from renewable energy sources that are situated in a different location, like wind farms, or at the point of consumption, like solar panels. Everything I'm talking about, of course, should go through a detailed analysis, and but it is something that we can think about in order to make better use of next programming period. What is important to mention here, especially for us as a transport sector, it is a synergy of investments in different sectors, primarily energy and environment. To finish, I will bore you a bit with something that we do on a daily basis, that is legislation. We are now preparing for a directive on European Maritime Single Window, and we've probably all seen the new EU strategy for sustainable and smart mobility, where they announced work on a new legislation regarding fuel EU maritime, alternative fuels infrastructure, and revision of EU emission trading system, which we as a legislator first have to take in mind while planning the future programming period. That's all for us. If there are questions, we will be happy to reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Nevenka, for the presentation. And also thanks for reminding everyone that there is the possibility to share any questions or comments in the chat. It was actually very nice to see a different side of the Mediterranean Sea basin based on your presentation. And I think it was very interesting to focus on the role of ports and how they can contribute to the green challenge in oceans. and in the sea life. And that's it. You nicely show us to what respect can be improved the port infrastructures and the ability to create intermodal type of transportation systems, and how to upgrade and revamp the technologies in the port to ensure going toward decarbonization. But was also interesting to realize, thanks to your presentation, that ports are entry port to a broader economy that gets into several industries and several areas. And therefore, the relevance of investing into technologies and infrastructure to support better sustainability into the sea life and the surroundings is also going to impact importantly in other industries, which I think is very nice to point to better understand the potential for this type of investments. Unfortunately, the next speaker, Ludovico Gherardi, was supposed to be here, but he wrote to us that he's actually stuck in another meeting where there are some delays, so he may join us a little bit later. So that maybe I will just give the floor to Guido now that we'll introduce the next session. Then let's see if there will be the opportunity to listen to the very interesting presentation by Ludovico Gherardi later on.
Valentina, thank you so much. And so we can move to the next session, which title is Creating Ecosystems Favoring Innovation and Technology Transfer. That's interesting because this morning, actually, we already mentioned the concept of ecosystem. We said that pollution is actually a complex problem that requires complex actions, but not only complex action, but also requiring an ecosystem of people, of partners tackling the problem, but also an ecosystem of technologies. And actually talking about ecosystems of people and technologies, we enter into the theme of digital innovation hubs in order to understand what are digital innovation hubs and how they can help to tackle such complex problems such as sea pollution. The first guest will be Davorka Moslovac-Forian of Innovation Center Nikola Tesla, that I invite to participate to our discussion. We are a little bit in advance, ahead of time, but I hope that she's already ready. I'm pretty sure she is there. Yes, thank you so much for being our guest.
It's good that I'm already here. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, then let me share my screen. Sorry.
Yeah, we see the screen, so
okay,
that's perfect.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Davorka Moslovac-Forian. I'm from Croatia, from Zagreb, from Innovation Center Nikola Tesla. Innovation Center Nikola Tesla is an institution founded by Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing for the purpose of innovation boost and technology transfer. Today I will present you the concept of Digital Innovation Hub. Why me? Because Innovation Center Nikola Tesla is the host of Crobo Hub. It's Croatian robotics digital innovation hub that is fully operational, but I will tell you more about Crobo Hub itself tomorrow in the short 10-minute session. Now I will just give you a general overview of the concept of digital innovation hub. So as an introduction, let me say, where do we stand today with the digitization process? So in this slide, you can see the differences between countries, sectors, and size. So if we look, these are the data for 2019. So if you look at countries, you will see that 53% of Danish companies are highly digitized, as opposed to Greek companies, for instance, that there are only 6% of them are digitized. When we look at the different sectors, then we can see that 70% of computing companies are digitized, as opposed to construction and manufacturing companies that are digitized only in 11%. And when we look at size of the companies, we see that there are large enterprises are much more digitized than small and medium enterprises. If we look, for instance, for the data in Croatia, so 23.2% of companies are highly digitized, but it's not such a bad number. But when we look inside this percentage, that means that 5% of goes to construction and manufacturing companies, and 77.6% of these companies are consultancy services or information services. So, sorry, we see that there are huge variabilities between countries, sectors, and size of companies. So it's definitely, there is definitely a need for construction and manufacturing sector to be boosted by digitization, and also to help small and medium enterprises to become more digitized. This is digital intensity level for the year 2019. You can see, as I said, there are differences between countries. Here is the Croatia. It's somewhere above the middle. So there is a need for a tool to help small and medium enterprises to introduce digitization and to modernize their processes and services. So Digital Innovation Hub acts like a support facility that helps companies to become more competitive by improving their process and production processes, as well as products and services by means of digital technologies. Digital Innovation Hub acts like a one-stop shop that serves companies, mainly focuses on small and medium enterprises or micro company startups as well, within their local region and beyond, to digitize their business. So digital innovation hubs are locally focused. They help customers address their challenges in a business-focused way, offering services that would not be readily accessible elsewhere. So we can see that we have sector-specific expertise, technology expertise, business model expertise, and all that is at one place in Digital Innovation Hub to offer solution to the enterprises. So DI structure, I mean, typical DI structure is like this. It can vary, but this is a typical DI structure. It's like how to say? It's like a web network of various stakeholders that all carry in this network. Each of them carry their expertise, their network, and the services they can provide. So in a typical structure, we have competence centers, R&D institutions, educational institutions that can offer lifelong learning programs, and education R&D institutions that can offer R&D in the area of I don't know, robotics, artificial intelligence, high performance computing and such things. Then we have investors, of course, which will have financing sources. Then, of course, very, very important, the most important, I would say, stakeholder in this innovation ecosystem are startups and SMEs that will use these services for the benefit of their production. Of course, large companies can benefit also. Then we have industry associations, public governance can also benefit from digitization process, and we have incubators that can offer their services of incubation for small companies. Sorry. What is the role of the DIH? Digital Innovation Hub, typical Digital Innovation Hub, will have four main roles. It will offer services that falls into these four categories. Test before invest, then that means that you can go to some R&D institution or some partner in the DIH where you can, I don't know, conduct your proof of concept or test some technology before you invest. So that means that companies can test the technology before they invest in it or implement the technology into their production process. Then support to find investment, as I already explained. Then innovation, ecosystem, and networking. This is also very important because this network has stakeholders of various stakeholders, and this all can have synergistic effect. And of course, skills and training. I don't know, faculties, maybe vocational institution also can be involved in skills and training that can be offered to SMEs that usually lack of knowledge of skilled people, so they can be trained. These are some of the possible DIH services, specific services. I won't go into details. You will have a presentation. Just to say that there are three main groups of services. The services that boost ecosystem, like community building, mentoring, visioning, strategy development, brokerage events, dissemination activities. Then we have a set of services that can develop technology like collaborative R&D, technical support on scale-up, commercial infrastructure, testing and validation. And the third group is boosting business skills, incubator, accelerator support, access to finance, or skills and education in the business area. Let me say something about European Commission plan for digital innovation hubs. For last 5 years or even more, European Commission is helping digital innovation hubs in various countries, European countries and regions to grow. They help them with financing through various Horizon projects and other initiatives. And now, after 5 or 6 years, European Commission decided to go to the another stage, so to build network of digital innovation hubs. They now call it European Digital Innovation Hubs, or EDIHs. So European Commission wants to ensure that every business in Europe, whatever its sector, activity, location, size, can take full advantage of digital innovations and competencies. So they decided to build a network. So this network will have two main players. One player is a member state of region that will build up or strengthen their national and regional digital innovation hubs. They will improve competitiveness of local economy. They will, because of proximity of local customers and same language, local digital innovation hubs are very important in this network. And also they have insight to local strengths and needs. On the other side, there is European Commission. They want exchange of experience with practices and mirroring successful setups. They want more mature DIHs to help less mature. They want companies to learn from specialists in various fields like high performance computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, then advanced trainings, train the trainer workshops, and to use new solutions. For that, European Commission plans to allocate a part of Digital Europe program budget. It will be around 100 million per year to establish a network of European digital innovation hubs. This network will have 5 main topics. It's high performance computing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity and trust, advanced digital skills, and deployment and best use of digital capacity and interoperability. That means boosting digital capacities. So it will be a network of digital innovation hubs from all over the European countries and regions that will act together and have synergistic effect. Each of these European DIHs will have will cover its own region, will have some specialization that will be in line with smart specialization strategies, and they will together act as a network of EDs. So
thank you. It's very interesting. We are a little bit
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is final.
Thank you so much.
Slide.
Sorry for
I will not go into that. I already said something. These are some topics that will be focus of EDIS. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. If you can leave these slides so we can maybe take note of your contacts. What I found extremely interesting in your presentation is the concept of orchestrator, because we know that there is clearly a supply chain in new venture support. There has always been, since the 60s, let's say, a supply chain of new venture support. But the role of the digital innovation hubs today is a little bit different. It is also to orchestrating all the services in support of new venture, but not only new venture, also established firms that may need support in developing, for example, new products, new services, new offerings, and so on and so forth. And good, of course, that the European Union is supporting and financing not only the creation of new digital innovation hubs, but the creation of an ecosystem of digital innovation hubs, such as a system of systems, let's say. And that, of course, will be a plus for the European Union. So, Davorka, thank you again for your valuable contribution. Now it's time to give a look to an example, actually. So we move to Italy with Marco Galanti from T2I, Trasferimento Tecnologico Innovazione. Marco, you are already ready. Thank you for being among us. You can share your screen and start with your presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We see the presentation. You can choose the language, of course, Italian.
Okay,
English,
I'll use
whatever.
English so that as my fellow presenters did so far. Well, as you mentioned, I will tell you how was developed the Digital Innovation Hub of T2I. First of all, T2I was one of the first digital innovation hub recognized within the I4MS initiative. That is the initiative that led to the creation of this concept of hubs. And I think that the main point of my presentation of the whole is that we built on what was already existing. And this is something that is very important in my opinion, because in our activity, we had also the chance to support other innovation hubs to be developed in other countries, in East Europe, for example. And we've seen sometimes that there is a mistake, and you try to build something from totally new that has no connection from what is already existing. And this approach obviously cannot work, because as you mentioned before, the idea behind of Digital Innovation Hub is to build an ecosystem. So build on what is already existing is something that you need to do in order to create a connection and in order to give real value, real added value to the companies that are the users of this of the Digital Innovation Hub service. And also because the whole of the Digital Innovation Hub is not usually to do something new, but to act as a facilitator towards some services that already existed in the territory, in the area and in the region. And this is why there is also a difference between the digital innovation hubs and the competence centers, that are two different things. The competence centers are the subjects that develop the innovation, that generate the know-how, while the digital innovation hub try to build a bridge between the companies, the business, the startup, and the know-how that is available in universities, research centers, technology providers, and so on. And I'd say that our main job as a digital innovation hub is to translate the business need from a company in a technological need. And this is something that is quite difficult, because needs to put together very different skills, but is the real need of the company, because the main difficulty that you have working with companies is that they don't have the capacity of them, and they shouldn't have, I'd say, to already know what kind of technology need can solve the problem. They are just aware about the problem they have, and it's the job of the Digital Innovation Hub to help translate this this business need, into something that is a technological need. For example, so that you can understand very simply, a company can have a need to be more efficient in the process, or to save money related to, for example, process downtime. And the solution can be, for example, predictive maintenance related to IoT technologies and so on. But the company is aware about the need and not about the solution. And this is why the Digital Innovation Hub, in fact, already exists. An important point that I mentioned is that many of the activities that are required from a Digital Innovation Hub, that you can see in the slide on the right, are activities that are covered by the services that T2I already offered on the market. T2I is an organization that is participated by the Chambers of Commerce, by 3 Chambers of Commerce of the Veneto region, and that merged several existing innovation agencies that existed in the region. And this is something important in my opinion, because it shows that you need to put together experiences and to collect several, optimize the resources, and to collect the needs of a wide number of companies in the whole region. The need analysis is something that is very important also in the creation of a Digital Innovation Hub, because every country is slightly different, every region is slightly different, and it is important that you develop an activity that is that aims aims to the need, to the specific need of the companies in the area. For example, in the presentation before, we've seen the Digital Economy and Society Index, and we have to say that Italy, for example, is a little behind also to Croatia, and especially on the skills and training part, because unfortunately Italy, on the indicators about the skills, the human resources skills about digital technologies, is one of the last countries in Europe. And this is why, for example, skills and training in Italy is very important. And so it's important when comparing experience from one country to another, you shouldn't just copy what is working in another country, because, for example, if you look at digital innovation hubs in Finland, they work and they need to work very differently than in Italy and in Croatia. An important thing about the approach that we have in our activity as a Digital Innovation Hub is that we try to develop some horizontal services that try to match the needs of several types of companies. And so they're not related to single sectors, but that can gather and collect the interest of a large number of companies. So, for example, we have lots of workshops. As I mentioned, the skills and training is something that is very important. We have study tours towards competence centers in Italy and abroad. But we also have what we call a training demos, that is a bridge between the, let's say, skill development part and the so-called test before invest part. That is an activity that is very important to perform with companies, that aims to basically allow them to try a technology and understand the technology before having to make any investment in any large investment to this. And for this, we have also some quite important collaborations with some key players in the IoT technology, for example. We try also to develop some idea generation service that is a further extension about this idea of testing before investing, because, as I said before, the concept is to try to help to identify business need, and this also applies to products idea, for example. And so, for example, we use a lot approaches such as design thinking, so that we can develop the clear specification of how a product or a process should work to be very effective for the final user. And then we try to involve the technology specialist as it's needed in many times. And this is a very effective activities that we've seen that works very well with companies. A key important part is that you need to have a very wide partner network, and luckily, since T2I relies on experiences that are active since 1989, I guess, and so we have time to build a very strong relation throughout the world. I know that we have not much time, so I stop here. In any case, if you have any question, you can also email me. This is my email, so please don't hesitate to contact if you need anything.
Marco, thank you so much. If you can remain here with this slide 1 minute, because while I add just a short comment, maybe people can take note of your contacts. What I found interesting is that your attempt, maybe this is something that we can maybe go further later, about the possibility to replicate a digital innovation hub. You said that you already did it, but at the same time you highlighted the many difficulties in doing that, because every context, of course, is different, and you cannot really, take a model and be sure that this model, the same model, will work also in another context, because the context here is the main resource in which a digital innovation hub is based, the local resource, knowledge resource, of course, but of course there must be also in place an ecosystem. And the second maybe element, maybe we can return later on that, is about the possibility to provide support to SMEs. I'm conducting some studies now on the digital industry, and I found many companies that for years and years decided to provide support and to have a target market, the market of SMEs as main target market. And after some years, they had to surrender and say, wait a minute, it's a battle that I cannot win. So it's better that I try to substitute small companies with bigger companies in my portfolio, because trying to convert the SMEs is really too tough for me. And the distance, the gap to be covered is really too high. But maybe these are all topics that we, if you remain with us, we can go in deep in just some minutes during the, let's say, the final space that is reserved to the debate. So Marco, thank you again for being among us. And Valentina, the floor is yours for the very last part.
And thanks also for challenging our speakers and also our participants with very interesting questions, for example, regarding how to effectively engage SMEs, which actually is the largest share of companies, but as you mentioned, not necessarily the easier or the most prepared to take up the task. But let's us move a little bit the focus now of the discussion, because there is one missing piece in the analysis that we have provided so far, and it's actually the role of the citizens. We have been talking about firms, institutions, and supporting knowledge-intensive business service, but what about citizens? Well, it's very nice to have now the opportunity to listen also to the perspective of civil society, as it's very important to achieve effective results in tackling pollution and disease. It's very important to be able to inspire and motivate citizens to act, to take action. And I'm very proud to introduce you today to Pierre Strasser, sorry for my very bad pronunciation, of ACT Ian, who's actually going to explain and share with us the experience of EU4 Ocean Coalition for Ocean Literacy.
Many thanks, Valentina. Hope you can hear me well. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen and show you a few slides on the EU for Ocean Coalition. I hope you can see the slides. I'm going to put them to the...
Perfect.
Yes, we see them.
We can see them.
Okay. So let's share with you a few words of this this new journey of the EU for Ocean Coalition that started a year ago, and where effectively we give specific attention to citizens and to what we call now ocean literacy. The starting point, I'm not going to develop very much on the first point, which was the importance of marine challenges, whether degradation of ecosystems, pollution, as Valentina said, overuse of some of the resources, and increasingly mentioned the ocean and climate nexus and the role of the ocean for climate policies, but also the impact of climate on the ocean and itself. That's a given. And I think if we are all here today in this workshop, it's because we believe that there are ways to address these marine challenges. For many years, decades, attention was given to setting rules, norms, investments, infrastructures. And I think there is an increasing attention given to the fact that solutions require that we change our behavior, we change the way we practice, we use the ocean, marine ecosystems and the like. And this change of behavior is key to support climate and ecological transition and support the best, good, sustainable management and use of the ocean. And here, when we talk about change of behavior and we refer to citizens, we have to have a very wide definition of citizens. Yes, effectively, people in the streets, consumers, all of us, but also elected people, professionals from the value chains, local authorities, decision makers, innovators, researchers, and alike. And in some ways, each of us, whether as professional or as private persons, we can and we need to do some changes in the way we live and the way we act in our daily life. If you want people to change the way they act and practice, which is an element that has been made more explicit in the New Green Deal, better knowledge and better understanding has a role to play. And clearly, we have to be modest, but we understand that if you better understand marine ecosystems, their importance, but also the link between human activities, marine ecosystems, how we impose pressures, but at the same time, how we benefit from some of the services ecosystems deliver. And if we understand better what are the options, opportunities to do differently and some of the implications, then maybe we are in a position to change. We might not do it always because there are many other drivers, other factors that explain the fact that I decide to change. But better knowledge is part of the answer. More and more in projects and initiatives, this is recognized. With a positive side is that we get more and more initiatives on capacity building, communication, literacy, educations that help sharing knowledge about the oceans. But maybe in particular in a social media context and world, maybe we also get a time where there are too many and where we believe that we need to get a bit more collective efforts and coherence to bring forces together and to get our messages, understanding more forcefully towards a range of citizens. And this was the background of the EU for Ocean Coalition, which is an initiative supported by DG Mare, European Commission, to strengthen ocean literacy in Europe. There had been EU project before addressing ocean literacy, but this time it's a wider, I would say, organizational move where we try to mobilize different organizations, different people, to at the same time develop ocean literacy initiatives, education material in a less fragmented way, more collective manner, and that then supports and target different groups of society so they can shift towards different practices. The coalition itself has three main pillars. The first one is the EU for Ocean Platform, which is a group of initiatives, organizations, people that are already working on marine issues, that are working on marine education literacy, and which idea is to bring forces and resources together to be more effective, to reach wider group of people, to reach more diverse groups of peoples. The second pillar gives a specific attention to young people, let's say young in a broad sense, as you see on the slides, defined as change makers between 16 and 30-year-old, people that are also starting their professions, young professionals. And this is the role of the Youth for Ocean Forum, where we put together these change makers and we support them to put their forces, ideas in place, in practice, in a collective manner, and to bring an increasingly large number of young people around an ocean challenges and solutions. And the third pillar looks at children, education, primary educations, with the establishment of a network of European blue schools. And all these pillars put their efforts together to drive ocean literacy actions in the same directions. So more and more people better understand the ocean and its role, its connections with humankind, and the actions it can take, she can take to support transition. Let's say the coalition itself is a soft group of people. There is an increasingly large number of organizations. Let's say there are more than 100 members in the platform today. How do we work? Mainly we work by facilitating, organizing meetings, processes at the level of sea basins like InnovaMare, trying to support people in sharing resources. A lot of the work we do is about connecting and combining. We try to connect initiatives developed at different scales so they can get a larger macro impact. We also try to connect initiatives that are addressing different target groups from the same value chains, so all can progressively better understand and make changes at the same time in a more coherent manner. And we try to connect initiatives from different countries with the same target groups. For example, initiatives in Italy, France, Malta, Greece, dealing with blue challenges in schools, where we put together ideas, common framework on how to assess impacts and support each other in implementing these blue challenges. When we connect, we combine resources we have. We all have some human financial resources. In many projects, there are some communication and capacity building components that often are implemented in isolation. So by putting together these resources, maybe we can have a more cost-effective impact. And then in some cases, we work together to mobilize new financial resources by developing proposals with members to hunt for new funding. And finally, we raise visibility with communications, social media articles, also with events, whether at the sea basin as part of the European Maritime Day or as contribution to international event. And then we raise visibility of ocean literacy as a topic, but also of what European organization partners are doing in this field that can be communicated and shared. In these coalitions, let's say everybody is welcome and everybody can contribute for the diversity of collective actions that we try to put in place following suggestion ideas from the different members of the group. So you see here on the slide different possible collective actions that have emerged from internal discussions, were discussed in workshops, and on which we are now starting to develop group of partners to put ocean literacy in practice. So it goes from wide advocacy campaigns. In particular, we will launch an advocacy campaign named Make Europe Blue to bring everybody to pledge for better practices and actions that supports a healthy marine ecosystem. We support blue challenges for schools. We are working together on supporting wider citizen mobilization in projects and activities, including in research and science. We think of organizing an EU for Ocean literacy cruise, mobilizing different groups, in bringing them in doing practical activities in different locations along the seas. We think about MOOCs and ocean art events, or the establishment of a Mediterranean ocean literacy networks, and so on. So here, if some of you are interested to join, contribute, and support ocean literacy in Europe, you are very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pierre. That was really an interesting presentation, and thanks for setting this live with your contacts here. I'm sure many of the participants would be happy to take contacts. I love the approach you have taken to build this coalition. You use the term literacy, and I think this perspective is very insightful, at least because it brings to our attention two aspects. First, we often give for granted oceans and sea life. But it's not more the case because with pollution problems that we mentioned in these discussions, we cannot give them for granted anymore. And so we need to learn more to learn better what the situation is. And I also like the approach you're taking of literacy because you suggest in a way that it's very important to change the mindset before actions can take place. And this is really a needed step which should engage citizens, but also policymakers and all the actors that need to be engaged to really bring through a change. So thanks again, Pierre, for this very insightful presentation. And talking about the role of citizens and about actions that can be taken, it's with pleasure that I introduce to you Elisa Scocchera, that is going to present Legambiente Italy initiatives to engage citizens into activities that can support cleaning the oceans and again also being more aware about the challenges that a sea is facing. So Elisa, the floor is yours.
Hi, hello to everybody. Thank you for your invitation in this very interesting roundtable. And I apologize, but my presentation is in Italian. I hope this will be not a problem. I'm going to share my
and we have the translation system, so that's great. People will be able to follow you anyway.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So sono Elisa e faccio parte dell'ufficio scientifico nazionale di Legambiente e innanzitutto volevo dire due parole sulla mia associazione e sul perché è una delle associazioni ambientaliste più estese e presenti sul territorio italiano. Nella mappa potete vedere le varie sedi che abbiamo, le nazionali, le regionali e i più di 600 circoli locali. E tutta questa, diciamo, estensione è dovuta al fatto che sono più di 40 anni che facciamo attività sul territorio italiano basandoci sull'ambientalismo scientifico, quindi sulla raccolta di dati in una maniera corretta e seguendo dei determinati protocolli, sulla denuncia dei problemi e la proposizione di soluzioni concrete. Non ci occupiamo solo di inquinamento marino, ma anche di economia circolare, educazione ambientale, biodiversità, rifiuti in genere, inquinamento di aria, acqua e suolo, però diciamo che sicuramente l'attività sull'inquinamento marino è diventata centrale per le nostre azioni. E sono molte le iniziative che portiamo avanti coinvolgendo volontari e cittadini in generale, dalle campagne annuali come quelle della Goletta Verde, della Goletta dei Mare o il Clean Up the Med, alle iniziative che coinvolgono aziende specifiche in particolari azioni, a vari progetti con partner europei ed extraeuropei. Vi racconto adesso insomma le più importanti. E a partire dalla Goletta Verde, che è forse la campagna più conosciuta di Legambiente, che va a monitorare lo stato delle nostre acque da un punto di vista di depurazione, prelevando dei campioni da tutta la costa e analizzandoli dal punto di vista dei batteri di origine fecale. E in questa campagna sono proprio i volontari di Legambiente che dopo un'adeguata formazione vanno a prelevare i campioni seguendo un protocollo che è frutto dell'esperienza annuale di monitoraggi di questo tipo. Oltre a questa attività, direttamente sulla goletta, a bordo della goletta, viene svolta anche l'attività di monitoraggio dei rifiuti galleggianti, che Questa esperienza è iniziata nel 2013 grazie ad una collaborazione con l'Accademia del Levietano e ISPRA e continua fino ad oggi, diciamo. L'ultimo anno purtroppo non è stato possibile viaggiare con la goletta, ma riprenderemo presto. Ma non solo, durante il viaggio della goletta iniziative, eventi e campagne di sensibilizzazione e comunicazione si susseguono nelle spiagge toccate dalla barca, con il coinvolgimento diretto di volontari, turisti e cittadini, toccando i temi di interesse locale come per esempio l'abusivismo o la cementificazione della costa, le trivelle o l'estrazione del petrolio. Diciamo, questo tema è particolarmente caro all'Adriatico, oppure l'utilizzo di airgun. Un'altra importante esperienza è quella del monitoraggio dei rifiuti spiaggiati, che dal 2014 usa un protocollo in accordo con altre associazioni europee e negli ultimi anni anche in accordo con l'Agenzia Europea dell'Ambiente. Da qualche anno questo monitoraggio si estende a tutto il Mediterraneo, coinvolgendo varie associazioni sia per degli eventi di pulizia della spiaggia, sia proprio di monitoraggio dei rifiuti spiaggiati. E chiaramente queste azioni, come anche le analisi delle golette, non si vogliono sostituire a quelle che svolgono gli enti preposti per questi monitoraggi, ma li vogliono coadiuvare, portando al pubblico i risultati ottenuti, ma soprattutto coinvolgendo direttamente i cittadini nel contare letteralmente i rifiuti presenti sulle spiagge. E diciamo che questo metodo secondo noi è una delle esperienze più educative da questo punto di vista. Una piccolissima parentesi sui plastic pellets, per accennare alla cooperazione che abbiamo anche con altre associazioni europee e l'importanza che queste iniziative di monitoraggio attraverso esperienze di scienza partecipata possono avere nella raccolta di nuovi dati che possono essere meno puntuali, ma sicuramente più su larga scala. In particolare la Citizen Science è stata proprio quella che ci ha portato nel 2017 alla conferenza sugli oceani, in cui abbiamo avuto la possibilità di raccontare il lavoro di tutti i nostri volontari e durante il quale abbiamo anche solidificato una delle nostre partnership più importanti con un ente scientifico, firmando un voluntary commitment con l'Università di Siena e nello specifico con il gruppo di Plastic Busters, per coniugare scienza e divulgazione per la protezione dei nostri mari. Tra le attività principali c'è sicuramente lo studio di contaminanti chimici sui macro rifiuti che vengono raccolti durante il viaggio della goletta, ma c'è anche una forte collaborazione con il nostro centro di recupero di tartarughe di Manfredonia per investigare l'impatto che il marine litter ha su questi animali. Questa sinergia si sta esprimendo in questo momento in un progetto, nel progetto Common, che è un progetto finanziato dall'NCBC Med, il cui obiettivo principale è quello di contrastare il problema del marine litter applicando i principi della gestione integrata delle aree costiere. Partendo da 5 aree pilota, 2 in Tunisia, 2 in Italia e 1 in Libano, si vuole cercare di costruire un modello di gestione dei rifiuti efficiente che poi possa essere replicato in altre aree del Mediterraneo. Come ottenere questo modello? Tramite un percorso di partecipazione attiva delle varie parti interessate, a partire dagli amministratori locali, i pescatori, ma anche le comunità locali che vivono proprio in prima persona il problema dei rifiuti sulle spiagge. Capitolo finale sulle azioni di sensibilizzazione. E queste sono per lo più delle campagne che portiamo avanti in modo congiunto con altre associazioni ambientaliste sia in Italia che in tutta Europa, e come ad esempio la campagna che ha portato al bando dei sacchetti di plastica, oppure quella che ha portato al bando i cotton fioc di plastica, o ancora il recente bando delle microplastiche nei cosmetici. Per arrivare al famoso bando delle plastiche monouso, la famosa SUP, che è ancora in via di recepimento in Italia. Un'ultima nota, sicuramente non per importanza, è l'esperienza del Fishing for Litter, che portiamo avanti insieme ai pescatori in vari punti d'Italia, sia in Toscana, in Puglia e in Emilia-Romagna. Il monitoraggio di questi rifiuti insieme al lavoro dei pescatori è molto importante e fondamentale per la comprensione di questo fenomeno, ed è servito anche a richiedere una legge apposita per la gestione di questi rifiuti, che per ora purtroppo ancora non è stata approvata. E quindi, concludendo, Legambiente sta portando avanti con sempre più forza l'esperienza della citizen science, e siamo convinti che il coinvolgimento dei cittadini sia fondamentale per la loro sensibilizzazione, ma al tempo stesso i dati che vengono raccolti e successivamente analizzati possono essere di grande aiuto sia da un punto di vista scientifico che di decisioni politiche. Grazie per l'attenzione.
Thanks, Elisa, and thanks for adding more food for thought on the discussion that was already highlighted before by the previous talk on the role of citizens. Actually, the experiences that you were explaining to us as very interesting to see to what extent you are acting based on science, but you are also creating science based with the engagement with citizens. And actually, it was very interesting to notice how often you use the word engagement. I think this is a very interesting aspect about the ability that we have to bring on real change. So we are done with our presentations, and I have the very challenging duty to try to summarize what are the key elements emerging from this very rich day for policymakers. And indeed, it's very challenging because all the discussion coming out this morning and this afternoon were really bringing up very interesting aspects. But let me start by citing a very effective sentence. Our house is on fire. How are we acting on that? Our house is on fire, and the marine challenges that we have discussed are very clear about the important problems that we need to tackle, and we need to do it really soon. Because there are damaging fishes methods, there is the problems of underwater noise, there is a problem of oil spills or disastrous problems, there is the problem of pollution in the sea, even of invasive alien species that was discussed also this morning. So the challenges are very large. What can we do on that? How can we act on this? The point of view that this project, the InnovaMare project, is taking is that to be aware about those challenges, to interpret them as opportunities. Now, what are the aspects that policymakers should consider based on the discussion that came out today, in order to make sure that we are taking this opportunity, and also to not only to address a challenge and to reduce pollution, but to be restorative, which I guess is the most challenging part of this challenge. So a first aspect that I learned in this discussion is that a needed aspect is who is engaged in this. It's clear that the governance of these marine challenges need to be sea-basing levels. We need to overcome the single regions or the single countries type of perspectives, but there is a need to engage and to coordinate actions of different countries. And yet, taking into account that those issues have a local dimensions, that there are specificity of local activities and actions, and so to try to find our balance between agreeing on a country and sea-basing level, and yet being aware about peculiar challenges that may characterize specific areas. For example, therefore being able to mapping the different areas based on the challenges that they need to achieve, so to be able to really provide effective solutions for every areas. Then another aspect we mentioned to ultra engage, right? So I mentioned the geography, let's say, wide aspect, but it is also an actor-based aspect to be identified. And it was clear today that another aspect that emerged clearly, at least to me, that different actors need to be engaged and that ecosystems need to be created. But I want to stress this. We don't need to create new things. We rather need to connect existing dots and to make sure that every dot is actually providing their own contribution to this restorative approach, and also coordinate their activities with the other dots to ensure that synergies are coming. So, for example, that about ensuring that that we are revamping infrastructures, and we discuss about the role of the ports as connecting points with the sea level economy and the other, let's say, the land type of economies. But we also mention of the role of businesses in this. And yet, and we also, and I think that was very relevant on the role of citizens. I was very happy that we had the opportunity to have here today the local society associations and representatives, because I'm deeply convinced that none of the actions of the policymakers can be effective if they're not engaging citizens that needs to feel that such actions are effective, are important, and also that are engaged so that their best energy can be put in place to support this transformation. Because believe me, that's very hard transformation to take place. So we need all the very best energies. So the policymaker actions that revamp infrastructures that support and engage and identify and enable business opportunities and facilitate connection between businesses and other institutions, and that connect with the action of citizens. This is an ecosystem that effectively works to tackle the maritime challenges. And as it comes to firms in particular, which was one of the focus of those sessions, it was also clear that some of them are better able to provide solutions, maybe because they're more equipped with technologies, or they may have the mindset that are better able to go in that direction. But we do need to have all the firms that are active in these industries, in this context, to be open to support a green blue economy. And this is especially the case for SMEs that we were discussing before may have a hard time into entering this very complex type of issues, but we need their effort too, given their very important role for the economy and therefore their very large impact also on those issues. So that's very relevant, the effort to support also that institutions like the digital transformations app, the digital information apps that are trying to equip those companies with the digital knowledge and solutions that may support their action. Because indeed technologies emerge, and especially digital technologies emerge as a very potential, a very powerful leverage to move toward a greener, cleaner type of seas. And therefore, for policymakers, a challenge is how to ensure that such digital opportunities are actually identified and implemented across all the firms. And last point, so I mentioned several challenges for policymakers, engaging countries, different countries, and ensuring coordination of the different activities, create an ecosystem that to connect different actors with different skills, ensuring that even SMEs may have access to digital technology and may find effective business model that create both economic and sustainable value to support tackling marine challenges. But there is one last point that actually Pierre's presentation was making it very clear. We need to change behaviors and mindsets too. It's great to tackle policies, to create policies that tackle actions that support the creation of connections, but it's also very important that we build that literacy that allows all citizens to, one, be aware of the problem, and two, be aware that they can be part of the solution. Our house is on fire. What are we doing? Well, here at the InnovaMare project, we believe that we may contribute in this very challenging issue. And we are happy that we created today the opportunity for all of you to be here and share your perspectives and share your questions and maybe get challenged by the presentations that were discussed today. And we hope that today and tomorrow are going to be just a starting point for the creation of an effective ecosystem that can actually drive to a much more restorative situation for our marine and sea basin context. So I guess we reached the time we set for today's meeting, and shall I close the session, I guess, or Guido, do you want to do it?
Nothing to add. Perfect summary. I'm asking to Roberta if we can close here, and maybe
yes, thank you very much for everybody and for the deeper discussion, also for this afternoon session. So we see tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock a.m. and I hope that also tomorrow will be a great day as it was today. So thank you very much and we'll keep in touch, okay?
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Goodbye to everyone.